This is one of those stories that is hard to talk about, especially for Ohio State fans and college football fans in general. When we think about former Ohio State football players, the story usually follows a familiar and positive path. Elite recruits come to Columbus, develop under a national spotlight, win championships, and then move on to the NFL or successful careers beyond football. For most Buckeyes, that path leads to stability, opportunity, and long-term success. But sometimes, the story takes a tragic and deeply troubling turn. Today's story centers around a former Ohio State linebacker who once stood on top of the college football world, celebrated as a national champion and first-round NFL draft pick. Years later, that same player is now facing the most serious criminal charge imaginable. Former Ohio State linebacker Darron Lee has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder, according to multiple reports out of Tennessee. He is also facing a charge related to tampering with evidence. This is not just a fall from football stardom. This is a human tragedy with devastating consequences. From Buckeye star to national champion, Darron Lee arrived at Ohio State as a highly talented athlete with tremendous upside. Under head coach Urban Meyer, Lee developed into one of the most dynamic linebackers in college football. His speed, range, and ability to cover the field made him a key piece of Ohio State's defense during its championship run. In the 2014 season, Lee played an important role on a Buckeyes team that defied expectations. After losing their starting quarterback early in the year, Ohio State stormed through the college football playoff and captured the national championship. Lee's performance during that season elevated his draft stock and solidified his reputation as one of the best linebackers in the country. By the time he left Columbus, Lee was viewed as a future NFL mainstay. First-round NFL success, and the beginning of the decline. In the 2016 NFL Draft, Darron Lee was selected in the first round by the New York Jets. Being a first-round pick comes with financial security, fame, and enormous expectations. Early on, Lee appeared to be on track to build a long professional career. He spent several seasons in the NFL, seeing time with the Jets and later brief stints with other teams. However, as the years went on, his role diminished. By 2021, Lee was no longer a regular part of an NFL roster, last appearing on a practice squad. For many former players, the transition away from football is difficult. The structure, identity, and purpose provided by the sport disappear almost overnight. While many athletes adjust successfully, others struggle in silence. Unfortunately, signs of trouble began to emerge in Lee's post-football life. Legal issues begin to surface. In 2023, Lee was arrested on a domestic violence charge. That incident raised serious concerns and served as a warning sign that things were not going well. Reports later indicated that Lee failed to appear in court related to that case, leading to additional legal trouble and a warrant being issued for his arrest. At that point, it was clear that his challenges were no longer limited to football or career struggles. They had become personal, legal, and dangerous. Many observers hoped he would receive help and intervention before things escalated further. Sadly, that does not appear to have happened. Arrested on murder charges. According to reports from Tennessee, Darron Lee has now been arrested and charged with first-degree murder in connection with the death of his girlfriend. Authorities have also charged him with tampering with evidence, further complicating the case. At just 32 years old, Lee now faces the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison if convicted. It is difficult to fully grasp how someone can go from lifting a national championship trophy to facing such devastating allegations in a little over a decade. This is not just a story about football anymore, it's about lost potential, personal demons, and irreversible consequences. A sobering reminder about life after football. This case raises uncomfortable but important questions about what happens to athletes after the cheering stops. College football and the NFL provide players with structure, discipline, and a clear identity. When that identity disappears, some players struggle to find their footing. Mental health challenges, financial stress, and personal issues can spiral quickly without proper support systems. That does not excuse criminal behavior, especially not violent crime, but it does highlight how fragile life can become when warning signs are ignored or untreated. Lee had access to resources, money, and opportunities that most people never experience. Yet even that was not enough to prevent his downward spiral. The impact on Ohio State and the football community. For Ohio State fans, this news is especially painful. Buckeye Nation takes pride in its players and the culture of the program. Stories like this cut deeply, not just because of the criminal allegations, but because of the reminder that success on the field does not guarantee success in life. It also serves as a reminder that athletes are human beings, capable of making terrible decisions just like anyone else. Programs, leagues, and institutions continue to face questions about how they support players once their playing days are over. While responsibility ultimately lies with the individual, these tragic outcomes show the importance of long-term mental health care and accountability. Where things stand now. As of now, Darren Lee remains in custody as the legal process unfolds. Like any criminal case, he is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. However, the charges themselves are extremely serious, and the potential consequences are life-altering. This case will continue to develop, and more details will likely emerge as the investigation progresses. For now, the focus remains on the victim, the families affected, and the sobering reality of how quickly a life can unravel. Final thoughts. This is not a story anyone wants to tell, but it is one that needs to be acknowledged. It is a reminder that fame and talent do not protect someone from personal collapse. It shows how unresolved issues can escalate into tragedy. And it reinforces the importance of mental health support, accountability, and early intervention. From national champion to first-round pick to facing a murder charge, Darren Lee's story is one of the most tragic cautionary tales in modern college football history. We will continue to follow this case as more information becomes available.